Debbie set up Resolute in 2017 after fleeing with her 2 young children. She was in a domestic abuse relationship for 10 years. 4 years later, having experienced a complete lack of support from authorities and services, she decided to set up and she founded Resolute Women's Support Services to help other women affected by domestic abuse and violence. She says the current system failures that the victims are treated like criminals. They're removed from their support networks, they're forced into refuges, and they suffer additional trauma from uprooting their lives. Children are uprooted from schools and peer groups, often their only source of stability. There's a complete lack of professional help, support and understanding, which compounds the trauma. This approach is costly, both in terms of public services and the mental health of victims. And what Debbie has been campaigning for some time is something called Tag an App. We've heard how this can lead to homicides, also made to be looked for suicides. But usually in the dynamic of coercive control, there's a pattern. And we also know from research and statistics that leaving a domestically abusive relationship is the most dangerous time. On average, it will take a woman at least 6 attempts to try and leave. She could be coerced back, or she may just simply be in fear of consequence. When you're in that dynamic, you have a little bit of control. It's probably fair to say you're used to the abuse. You regulate your own behaviour in order to meet what the abuser wants, so to not be met with abuse. When you decide to leave, there is no control. That abuse becomes unpredictable and it will escalate. We find patterns of stalking and harassment, and reports are made to police and police do nothing about it. We then come to the end of the line where there is a murder. Now, what Deborah is campaigning for is the Tag an App, where when reports are made, the perpetrator should have a tag and the victim should have an app, where if that perpetrator comes within a certain radius of the victim, there should be an alert that goes out to the victim. Now, the authorities will tell us that it may be too intrusive on the perpetrator's articulate right to privacy and family life if someone in authority or state can tag them. What I say, and I know Debbie says the same, is when you make a choice to abuse someone, you lose your human rights or any sort of whatever entitlement you believe you have to them. And authorities need to weigh a balance. They need to weigh the balance of protecting the Article 3 human right of the victim, which is to be free from harm, whether that's physical, psychological, emotional. Now, that psychological harm, what European courts tell us, is subjective to that person. It's not an objective, reasonable person test that this may be psychologically harmful to someone and not someone else. It's whether that person is, and if they are living in chronic fear, that is psychologically causing them harm. If they can have some sort of reassurance, prevention is ultimately better than cure. And they receive this notification, it will then give them time to act. It's a warning for them. They can then take themselves and their children to a place of safety. We also know that them taking those steps will probably be quicker than them calling 999 and waiting for the police, where the perpetrator will probably get to them first. It provides security and peace of mind in the hope that it works well. So the authorities need to definitely be considering protecting the Article 3 rights of victims as opposed to considering any intrusion of Article 8 rights on the perpetrator. Debbie has got a website, resolutesupport.uk. She's based on Slee. I know myself, she does a lot of amazing work. And she's also done quite a few podcasts recently. I know she's got a lot of research on herself. She's on YouTube, you can just type in support. And if you would like to subscribe to Resolute, they also have a lot of groups with victims, online platforms, where I think people need to know that they're not alone and this can happen to anyone.